All right, we're gonna get into the main portion of this video that I wanted to really talk about. We're gonna watch a Bryce Crawford video. He is a guy. If you don't know his story or anything, I would recommend looking him up on YouTube and just watching a couple of his videos. But basically, he has a big testimony of why he believes in Jesus. He had this kind of coming to him. He was about to take his life and ended up encountering Jesus that night that he was, and it's changed his life ever since. And now he just preaches the gospel everywhere he goes. He's a YouTuber. He does that kind of full time as far as I know. But I wanted to watch one of his videos here because he went to a FurryCon, and at that FurryCon, he was talking to these people just about Jesus. But I wanted to get my opinions across on some of the topics he was talking about. There's just a couple things that it's not that I disagreed with, but not at all. It was just things I wanted to add to, explanations to maybe some things that were going on. I took some notes, maybe dissected a little bit. Let's just get right into it. Gotta add, hang on. All right. So this is the first encounter here. We're not gonna watch the whole video. But it's not very long. It's like a 17-minute video. We're just gonna watch a couple of the interviews in that, and then just kind of react to them. So let's see. All right. I don't know where they're at in the conversation. Let's go back a little bit and
fandom since 2019.
2019.
Yeah, about 2019.
Okay, wow. So that's 6 years.
Yep.
And you said you identify as a werewolf.
I identify as a werewolf. Yeah.
And what drew you to the furry community?
I started researching furry art online, and I realized that I really liked the community and the people. I wanted to go out and travel and serve people.
Do you believe in any sort of higher power, or are you kind of like not about that?
In my personal opinion, I do feel that there's some kind of higher power. I sense it. I'm sensitive to it. And I've had moments in my life where I questioned my religion. I don't know how to explain it. I just know that there's some type of higher power.
Yeah.
And I choose to be a good person.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, can I share a little bit of my story with you? So I'm actually from the South. I grew up in a predominantly
here's his
household.
story briefly.
I kind of didn't really like religion. I went to a Christian school. My Christian school was great, got a great education, just didn't really care about anything like that. And I struggled with anxiety and depression for years, crippling anxiety and depression from the 8th grade on for a few years. And then when I was 17, I was actually planning on taking my life. And the night that I was going to take my life, I had a supernatural encounter with Jesus where Jesus revealed his love to me and stopped me from taking my life. And so I realized that I had this God-sized hole in my heart that was aching for love. That's what people look for in everything. They try to find their identity in a bunch of different things because they're looking for that love. And Jesus met me with that love. And so I prayed a prayer. I said, God, if you're real, take away my anxiety and depression, because that's why I wanted to take my life. And I haven't had it since that day.
Okay.
And so that was like my foot in the door with, I always thought there was something greater out there. But like, what is it?
Pause real quick. I mean, he says he hasn't had anxiety or depression since that day. This is a little bit about his story. I didn't want to cut it off too much, but obviously, there's been videos that have come out after this testimony that happened, where he says he has had like a bout of anxiety or whatever. The only reason I bring that up is to encourage you all that they might hear that and think that, well, I've given my life to Jesus and my problems haven't gone away. Well, it's not that they really go away. Jesus gives you a way to conquer them, and it's not that you are in control of that either. It's a really hard journey, but when you embark on it, it's fulfilling. That suffering, that hardness of it, it's transformative. And so that's part of his whole journey. He doesn't have it anymore because he's actively doing the things against it. He's doing what Jesus told him to do to fight it. A lot of people, my cousin has brought this up. Anxiety is just the feeling of something that you should be doing. basically, if you're feeling anxious about something, it's probably because you're not doing something that you're supposed to be doing in that moment, whether it is some kind of direct responsibility or if it is something on the macro. Usually, though, God calls us to live each and every day as He calls us to live. Each and every day, we have some type of small mission, small task to do. We are always called to pray. So I just wanted to bring that up into that, just to encourage some of you all.
Sensitive to it. I'm sensitive to it. I believe that every human being, like their inner soul, is crying out to worship something. And I started worshiping Jesus and following Jesus, and that was the gospel.
There you go.
I knew how wicked I was, and I was carrying so much baggage and shame and guilt from the things that I had done. But Jesus died, paying that price that I deserved to pay with my life. And because He defeated sin and death, no one can escape death. No one can escape sin in this lifetime. But because He defeated it, I can be in relationship with Him for an eternity, in glory, and set free, and find out how He has designed me to be. I realized I was designed to love God, and that was such a freeing thing, Yeah. If God could do a miracle in your life right now, what would that be?
A miracle? To be honest, it would be to help my father move on to the next stage, because he's currently dying and he's on dialysis. But, this is from his alcoholism. Yeah. And I just hope that he helps my father in some way to end his suffering. Yeah. That's all I want out of it. Yeah.
And see, this guy, he may have a lot of disordered habits and stuff. We all are sinned, and we're sinful. We are sinners. Some people go deeper into their sins and their illusions. Some not. Some people think that you can go further into darkness that you couldn't come out of. This person, through his darkness, and I will say it is darkness to think that you identify as a werewolf, that is part of an illusion. He still is aware of life and death on the level that his own dad is suffering, and he wants that to be taken away from him. That is a good that, again, how can someone like that even see that? It's because we're all created the same. We're all created with that consciousness. We're all created with the natural law written on our hearts. So we all have this capacity to see good and evil and to know how to act. This is not like a right and wrong scenario, but it's a way that he can see good and evil. God, when Jesus on earth, He would heal people. He would heal lepers. He would cure the blind, stuff like that. Why? Again, it's God's medium. It's how He can express goodness to us. Because people that may not be, well, not that they're not in tune with the reality, but maybe they've been lied to so much, they've been fed so many lies that it becomes their reality. They think it's true, and they can still see these things. They still see when, if Jesus came back and He healed the blind in front of somebody like that, they would probably, convert him. More testimony, more proof that I think that the Gospels are real too, is because how can that testimony, the tradition of what Jesus did and said, last for 2,000 years? The church it's lasted for 2,000 years. How would that even be possible if none of this was true and able to be seen by so many people? There's other religions that are old, but where are they at now from where they started? And who started them? Like the Muslims, Muhammad. Muhammad married a 9-year-old. Like Jesus was well accounted, the most accounted person in history, and He was healing people and He was helping people. And if you know the lens to look through, you can see that it was non-contradictory to anything He did or said, and anything God did or said in the past, in the Old Testament. It's all connected. Jesus is the fulfillment. He is the fulfillment. So, I don't know. It's just a way. What I was trying to say is just, it's a way to connect us all. It really is. We don't all have to know everything all at once. We can't. There's no possible way. We're only human. but we're not only human in the sense that we can never understand the message. So that's the point, is God reveals his message to us in a lot of different ways. We just have to try to see it in our own way. God knows us all individually. So what are some things that maybe God could work in your life? What are some things in your life that could get you to think about the good and the wrong and the bad and the just in this world, to know how to differentiate them? Because again, it's not that we have to know everything. We just have to try to live how God wants us to live. I feel like I'm going to say that a lot.
Tired of seeing him suffer.
Yeah.
More than anything else in
Yeah.
the world. More than money.
Yeah.
Anything.
And do you need a miracle in anything in your life specifically as well?
A miracle in my life?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in control of my life. Everything that I do is based on my actions that I've done. And I feel like a miracle would be better spent on someone who genuinely needs it. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing very well for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if I were to get a miracle, it would be some way to just bring my friends together and help them.
For sure. Yeah.
That's really good too. You know, he said it's like a selfless thing to say that. But also you have to remember that we aren't really in control like that. You know, he says, you know, I think a miracle would be better spent on somebody else because I'm more in control of my life. I've been doing everything right in my life. The misconception there is that God ultimately leads us. God ultimately created this world. Therefore, we can't exist outside of what God wants for us, if that makes sense. So, when we think that we're capable of creating our own realities, it's more of an illusion to think that we are God. But we are not only souls, but we have bodies. You know, this earth, this world does mean something. It's not that, again, we're not going back to Gnosticism where we don't think that any of this matters. The exact opposite, really. So it's a good thing that he says something like that, especially for someone that doesn't really have the biggest grasp of Christian morality. But it's not by his own power; it's by God's. If that made sense to say that we can't exist outside of God's reality. So therefore, everything that happens is within God. When we try to do the right things, when we do the corporal works, when we try to help people in need, when they're hungry or they're naked or they're afraid, we are doing what God intended for us to do. There's still going to be evil that tries to stop that, and will try to stop, and will stop that. You know, like people getting killed, Charlie Kirk dying. That was a permissible action. That was a permissible will with God. God allowed that to happen. We'll never know exactly why. It doesn't really make all that sense, because then it seems like it contradicts. Well, what we're supposed to take care of our bodies. We're supposed to be able to do all of these things. Again, we do it to the point where we can. So we eat good food. We take care of our bodies. We don't engage in violence or danger. But the rest is up to God. So if we go out for a nice evening with our friends and someone comes up on us at the end of the night and pulls a gun on us and shoots one of the friends, is that something that you did? No. You could have done all the right things. You look at the book of Job, like I said in one of my last videos. You can do all the right things and shit can still go south. And that is just the reality of all of these things. And I don't want to keep stopping too much, but I like to explain everything out.
Would it be okay if I prayed for you really quick and just prayed for your father and prayed for you as well? Because I know.
So he's going to pray for him. I just want to get to the conversations more or less. All right, yeah. In the background right now, we got the Halloween theme going, so just bear with me on that. If you don't like it, whatever. I'm sorry.
And I want to encourage you with that. The value that God puts on your life is his own life, because he was willing to die for you.
All right, so now he's doing a little preaching, and they're about to end the conversation.
Okay.
This is the next guy. All right, so this is the next guy. I want you to watch his movements. I want you to watch this guy, Charcoal, whatever that is. You can just see how much he's playing into his own reality, his own delusion. I have a lot of memories, profound memories as a kid, because I had this big imagination growing up where I could enter any kind of reality that I felt like I wanted. I could have been a furry if I kept going down all the wrong paths and thinking that that's like true happiness or something. I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is that I kind of understand a speck of the reality that comes from of all of this, is that it's putting aside reality and thinking again more about your happiness, and then it gets twisted to where you're not even really thinking about making yourself happy. You're just trying to play so much into this other reality that you think is true. If people thought that the real reality of God and how it's explained in the Catholic Church was real, their lives would be transformed into something pure and fulfilled. It's not to say that we won't always be sinners. We will. This is a sinful world. We're all sinners. We're not going to be perfect, but we can become transformed and purified by Jesus, unless we feed more into these false realities. So just watch his movements. He's like getting real. His hands. He's playing into it so much that even there's points in here where Bryce is talking and he's not really even listening because he's trying to respond in this character. It's kind of hard to watch, to be honest.
2009 is when wow. So that's like 15, 16 years?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm not thinking about it too much, but yeah.
And what draws you to the furry community?
I think it's just the ability to engage in your imagination. And like,
He just said it word for word.
And you don't have to, like, I didn't have a fursuit for about 10 years, like, into the fandom. I got this guy, like, last year, actually.
Okay.
So, this will be...
I mean, real quick, sorry, I just want to say, why is that wrong? Again, because if we're not living in the real reality, things are not going to happen the way we expect or the way we want them to. If 1 + 1 = 2, 1 + 4 can't equal 2. You know what I'm trying to say. It's when you put fire under water, it's gonna start boiling at some point. So it's the same thing with Jesus. If we enter Jesus into our lives, we're gonna become holy. If we enter these kind of delusions in our lives, we're gonna just become self-centered.
One earmark, but
okay.
Like, there's no minimum requirement to be part of the fandom, and like there's a bunch of friendly people who want to hang out, party, go to panels, like that's why I like the fandom so much. And there's like a broad variety of people.
Yeah, for sure. Do you believe in a higher power, or do you?
I personally don't. Some of my family does, but they like everybody has their own set of beliefs. As long as you're not pushing it on people and trying to condemn others for not, like do what you do, because religion also brings a good sense of community as well, and like a sense of purpose. Yeah, you use that to drive yourself with your religion. I believe that's a wonderful thing.
And what do you believe in anything or no?
No, not now. Like, I'd say I'm a deist, to where like if something exists out there, like
you're like open to it.
Yeah. But like for right now, it's very much a like I'm solidly. I don't think there's anything out there for right now.
That's great. Can I share a little bit of my story with you?
Sure.
All right, so he just said, that he doesn't believe in anything. So his kind of explanation, he might go deeper into it, but he said that again, he thinks that religion is good only because he thinks morality is derived from, or he thinks that religion is derived from morality. So he thinks being a good or bad person is something that we all are and can do, which is true. But it's explained in religion. It's fulfilled. It's how it comes about. God, the Catholic Church, us. I mean, God set up the Catholic Church. That is everywhere in Scripture. If you don't believe that, we can go over that too in another video. But he was just explaining that he doesn't believe in all that because he thinks you should just be a good person anyway. Well, yes, but how can we know what good and bad is? How do we define that? How do we actually discover with each other how to go deeper into those kind of philosophies if we don't engage in them And it's not that this behavior, people want to say, well, what is this guy hurting? He's not doing anything bad, or he's not killing anybody, or he's not whatever. No, he's not. That's not the point. That's not the point. People are allowed to do this. You can do this. Clearly, you can do this. We're allowed to sin. We're allowed to go against things. And I'm not even saying this is a particular sin. I'm not saying it like that. I'm just saying we can do whatever we want. We have the capacity to do whatever we want on this earth. And that's been proven throughout history over and over and over and over and over again. Even today, it's like we can do whatever we want. Does that mean it's the right thing to do? Does that mean, again, if you want to boil water, you can't just do whatever you want to boil water. You have to heat the water up somehow. There's not just one way to do it. But the means, the philosophy, the theology of how that happens is all the same. It's because it's part of this reality. It's part of the world we were created in, God's medium. And so it's just interesting hearing stuff like this, because these people are so set, and the only reason I'm going so deep into the explanation of all this is to maybe help you all out. Maybe if I just help one person, that's the goal of all this. To kind of think deeper into these thoughts, not just to let it pass by and think, yeah, that could be right, and then just go on to Taco Bell. I mean, it's just like we don't spend time to think about these type of things, and I think we should.
Be great. So I actually grew up in the South. I'm not from LA. What do you think happens when we die? Like, because you say you don't believe anything. Like, what do you think happens when we die?
I think it's just mostly lights out. Like,
Yeah.
It's one of the lovely things about being a human. You got to put the time that you have to work right now.
Mm-hmm.
Make as much good as you can in the world. Be good to people.
But see,
spread community. Don't be.
If there's nothing after life, why would you even want to do that?
If you don't have to, like, sometimes you do have to lay out the truth for folks and be like, hey, this is how you deal with me, or this is how you
lay out the truth for folk. What is the truth, and how do we know what it is? How can we agree on it?
People, but don't make other people's days miserable, and try to uplift people when you can.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, let me share a little bit of my story with you. So I grew up in the South, grew up in a predominantly Christian environment, church, went to a Christian school,
right?
But didn't really care about it. I was kind of bitter because a lot of people that were the example for Christianity weren't a good example for me. And so I was like, well, if that's what God's like, I don't want anything to do with it. When I got to the 8th grade, I got really bad depression and anxiety for years. And when
See his expressions?
I was planning on taking my life.
Okay, yeah.
And that night, I went to go have my last meal.
Okay, yeah.
You ever been to Waffle House?
I have not been to Waffle House yet.
Like, look, you live on the East Coast. You gotta go.
I plan on going during a storm. To make it the best experience.
It is the best. Waffle House is the best. And so I went there to kind of have my last meal, and I had a supernatural encounter with Jesus. And I've never done drugs. I've never drank alcohol before, so I knew I wasn't having a high or a trip or something. And so I prayed a prayer. I said, God, if you're real, take away my anxiety and depression.
Okay.
And since that day, I haven't had the anxiety or depression.
Well, good.
So that was like my foot in the door. It was like, okay,
well,
there's something out there. I believe it's this Jesus.
Sorry.
I started looking into it, and you and I both know we live in a wicked world. I've done stupid stuff. You've probably done stupid stuff. And the same way a criminal deserves to go to jail, you and I deserve death because we need to pay the price for our sin. And it was cool because when I look at Jesus and the life of Jesus, he dies on the cross.
Right.
And he was perfect. He's paying the penalty that you and I deserve to pay. And he escaped sin and death, the thing that you and I can't escape.
Right.
And so I was like, whoa, I can actually be called to who I was designed to be. I am encouraged in relationship with Jesus, and I can actually have eternal life when I live with him. At one point I thought things went lights out, and when I thought about it, it made me feel like I had no purpose when it lights out, because if it all goes black, why would I try to be a good person? Why
there you
would I
go.
be kind
Yeah,
to
you
you?
just
Why
said
would
that.
I want to serve people?
The thing is that, like, if you don't want to be kind to people with a higher power telling you, then how good of a person are you? And that's where I kind of fall out with religion. Religion provides that great community, but the thing is that you should be a good person just to be a good person. Like, you shouldn't be having someone tell you be a good person. You should create a sense of belonging. That's how you build community.
I agree with that. You shouldn't be a good person just because someone tells you to be a good person, but at the same time, why isn't that a good enough reason? But going beyond that, it goes down to why God created us in the first place. So he says it shouldn't matter. You shouldn't have someone telling you. You shouldn't have something telling you to be good or bad. You should just know. You should just be good and bad. You should just be good. Sorry. Well, the whole point of knowing what good and bad is, like I just said, is having some kind of objective and substantive form of that, which is the church. How else can we kind of decipher the thoughts that we have? Or else we're all just going to think we're all right individually, which is what liberalism is again. So he says we should just be good anyway. Where does that come from? And what do you know what good is? How do you know what good is? Where does that come from? That just doesn't. It kind of contradicts itself.
That's how you make yourself. That's how you make yourself stand on your own.
Yeah.
Like you build community, draw in good people. Like it's good that you have a foundation for like, hey, you have something that's driving you forward. But definitely internalize that. Make that yours. Don't have that be an external force because that'll make you a good person through and through. And that's what the pastors that I went to at my black church when I first was going to church. I didn't follow because I didn't believe. I was just like it was more of like a fizzling out.
Yeah.
It wasn't like all this. I just kind of don't see it.
Yeah.
But like the church community that I went to were like, sure, we're telling you to believe in God, but you should be a good person. You should be driving it.
Yeah.
You should be making God's world a better place on your own dime, on your own volition.
Yeah.
Do not rely upon the higher power to be a good person and deliver His will.
They were telling you that? Wow.
So make sure. I believe that those messages in the scriptures and everything.
Wow, for real.
Deliver great messages, but do not let just that be your core. Be the reason why you're doing it. Let that become part of your core and be a good person to create community. I totally understand.
Which is God. Like he's saying, let that become the core of you, the good, and like you should be good, and that is God, dude. That is what it is, dude. Like I believe that this guy is probably living a pretty good life as far as his morals. I would say he probably has a good direction. We all have a consciousness. I have a note written down here. It's kind of explaining all of this, just saying that the Catholic guilt. This gets brought up in the next interview, but I'm going to go ahead and just talk about it. When people say they have guilt about, and this is because this is what he's bringing up, and this is a common theme when people kind of deny the church or deny the existence of God in general, is because they don't believe that you should feel guilty all the time. Like feeling guilt, they think is bad, like that is bad or something. Feeling guilt is just part of a reality that gets us to think deeper about what is going on. It's part of what God created. It's part of God's creation in us. But what I was going to say here is, okay, so Bishop Robert Barron, he talks about this all the time, about Catholicism being kind of watered down, but the way he was raised into it, like, let me see. Just we were given the lowest common denominator as far as how to explain the Catholic Church to us. When we were growing up, it got a little bit deeper. I'm talking about my generation, but like my parents and their parents, their generation, my parents' generation, the boomers, they did not get a very in-depth version of Catholicism. It was very watered down. I mean, we had great people. There was Fulton Sheen. There was people, Mother Teresa, coming in, but they were coming in not as the direct influence of education in the church, but more as living out God's will and trying to start the explanations on the base level, on the principles of everything. If you know about them, about their lives, the Catholic guilt. So the Catholic guilt that they're wrestling with is conscience. God gave us the inner compass, the ability to know right from wrong, and the freedom to choose that. So how can we know? How can we kind of have a guide with our conscience? Is the Catholic Church. It really is. And Jesus enters that. Jesus gives us life to be able to have the grace to see these things a little bit more clearer and to live them out better, to live out God's will better. I mean, that's the whole goal.
I felt like before I became a Christian, I had people say I was reading the self-help books. You just need religious structure. You need things in your life. And I was trying so hard to be good for myself, and it led me to wanting to take my life because I was so tired of like working, and nothing was working. I was trying to fill a hole in my heart, and nothing would work. And the scriptures actually says that no one is good except God alone. Okay,
it's a good explanation.
Jesus is good, and He lives inside of me now because I put my faith in Him. Through the strength of the Spirit of God, I'm able to be loving, love your neighbor as yourself. I'm able to treat people with respect and kindness. and that's super cool. But also,
That's a good explanation. And people will say, well, what's the difference between these two people? If they both have some kind of sense of morality and they're both trying to do good, then what's the difference between these people? Well, on the corporal works, you know, we don't know what this guy is doing, but it seems like in his appearance, and this is not just an assumption. This is not just I'm just kind of grasping at straws here. This guy, he wouldn't be wearing this if he didn't think that it was for himself. Does he think that by wearing this, he's helping other people in any kind of way? Does that mean that we have to help everybody in every scenario and all the times and everything that we do? Well, kind of, but we're not going to be able to. We're just not. We can help the people we help around us, and it starts with an order. We love God first. We love our family. We love our nation. I mean, that's the order of how things are supposed to go. And indulging in these kind of behaviors, we can go deeper into why they're wrong, but you're going on this line of good morals and bad morals. Here's a concrete example. Why do people wait for marriage to have kids? Why should we wait for marriage to have sex? Well, the Catholic Church teaches that, not just because that's how God intended things to be, but look at what it does when you practice sex outside of marriage. You get a lot of confusing, just dark thoughts in your head about what's going on with the other person. You get confused. You feel lonely. You get left out. People have sex and leave each other. The dads have sex with the mom, and I'm saying dad and mom because sometimes they have kids out of these scenarios. And then what does the kid have to grow up in? What does the kid get to grow up in? Do they get all the corporal works of mercy and the spiritual needs that they have to enter into a better life, into the next life as well? They're not. It's not that sex before marriage is just that's wrong and you just shouldn't do it. It's because it causes problems. It's wrong, but why is it wrong? Well, like I just said, it causes problems, and that's the nature of sin, is that it disorders. It's a disorder to reality itself. So it's not that it's even something that you can look at and we can all just be like, that is pure evil. We should just stay away from. That's a fiery ball of fire that we shouldn't step into. No, sin sometimes looks like a cloud that we can just fall asleep in and never wake up. I mean, sometimes we never embark on the spiritual journey.
Deliver the truth. And I think that's been great. And I was praying last night, and I just shared with our buddy over there, Ono. It was so cool. I was praying last night because I knew I was going to come and get to hear people's stories. And, there's something unique about being man and woman made in the image of God, because even the animals don't have this value according to the scriptures. Is as human beings have an innate value because they're made in God's image, meaning God's imprint is on their life. Yeah. Not even the animals have it, Yeah. And so knowing that I am a man made in his image, and that's who God has called me to be, is to be a leader, to have biblical manhood, that is encouraging to me. And I want to encourage you, like, God has a unique design for you. God has designed you to be a firm man who leads well and loves well and points people back to him. And I was really feeling that for you. I want to encourage you with that.
Okay, well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed my mind today, but I appreciate that you're trying to help and build community.
Thanks so much. So who am I here with?
You're here with the one.
All right, so here's the last one. This is the last one we're going to watch. I'm going to clip this all up and make it a little flow a little better. But anyway, this is the last one I'm going to watch. This is the last interview. I'm going to hit a couple points, and then we're just going to end the stream.
Wonderful Narc.
And Narc,
you didn't summon me, though, all right? I have a job to do.
And how long have you been a part of the furry community?
Well, going back years ago, I would say all the way back to 2018, 2016, give or take how active I was. But with that and stuff, it's just been one hell of a journey. Yeah. An eye-opener of all.
Yeah. And what's the inspiration behind your outfit?
Well, it's mostly Trump. But it's mostly to give out the feeling like, oh, I'm supposed to scare the other types of crowd and everything. But it's mostly if you get to talk to me as you are right now and everything, I'm not any. Yeah, I'm just lucky.
Yeah, and you said the inspiration behind the suit is trauma?
trauma and everything like that. I grew up with like Catholic kind of stuff. Really forced upon me.
Yeah.
So much so that growing up in my life was just I was like petrified on whatever I do. Like I listened to a Kiss like CD. I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
And just stuff like that.
Yeah.
It had me growing up with that.
Yeah.
It had me so traumatized.
Real quick. So he's saying the Catholic guilt again. He's bringing back up the Catholic guilt. He's talking about listening to a Kiss album and thinking, you know, he's going to go to hell for that. Well, why would you even think that? Yes, there is a lot of Catholic guilt. Again, guilt is not always bad. It's kind of your consciousness telling you this may be bad or wrong. I mean, that's what consciousness is. That's what our conscience does. It points us in the direction of right and wrong. But he just said, what did he just say? Let's go back. The Kiss album.
Yeah. Whatever I do, like I listen to a Kiss like CD. I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to hell. Yeah.
Right. So why would that even be on the minds of people? And I grew up in a household where it was pretty similar. It was like we were told to stay away from things, or else, you know, that's an evil that we can never recover from. The idea of it all is, let me put an analogy. Someone hands you a tray of brownies and there's just a little speck of poop on them, right? I've used this analogy before. You wouldn't take the tray of brownies, not even one, because there's poop on it, right? You would be like, no, just take it back. I'm okay. I don't need that. Even if the person's like, no, there's just a little bit. There's just a little bit. Like, why don't you just take some over here? You wouldn't take any of the brownies. So why would we do the same for our culture? Why would we, and our music? You know, we listen to music and it has a lot of dark themes in it. Well, maybe listening to it and enjoying it in a manner where you're not really paying attention to the words, you're just kind of enjoying the music, may not seem that bad. But what do you fill in your mind with? Your subconscious mind at that, which is sometimes what people in science would say is more powerful than your primary conscious. Your subconscious is the mind that tells you how to act intuitively. So when we fill our minds with these dark thoughts, even if it's just a little bit, you go to the more extreme parts of that evil. These songs that glorify murder, that glorify drugs, that glorify this dark culture. A lot of it's in hip hop, mainstream hip hop. It's horrible. That's why I've turned away from it all. You engage in that kind of lifestyle, whether you think you are or not, and you try to think that that's cool. And that's how you measure success and happiness. That's how you measure it all, is through those type of things, and you just get left dry, high and dry every time. But the idea is to try to constantly remind yourself of the good, the true good. And so again, if we just engage in just a little bit of vice, even just a little bit, it's not that we're going to be able to do it perfectly every time. But the more that we put that in our lives, the easier and the more okay it'll feel or seem. So if you have some kind of sin that you're dealing with, you're struggling with, the best thing that you can do is to keep fighting it, which doesn't mean you have any kind of willpower over it. That's not what that means. That means seeking the truth, and the truth in the church. Talk to a priest. Talk to your local priest about whatever you have going on. And I'm sure they'll tell you the same thing. You need to order your life away from it. So if you have some type of sin towards like a compulsion to sin with lust, then you need to design your days and structure your world around you to kind of help combat that. If you're not actively doing that, you're just kind of setting yourself up for a failure kind of day. Just failure in general. Again, we can't be perfect. There's not like a way that we can eliminate it all, but we have to live in this world, just not of it. It's really important to make that distinction.
Just stuff like that. Yeah. It had me growing up with that. Yeah. It had me so traumatized to do anything. Yeah, or it's just like if I screw up once, I'm completely damned.
Yeah, I grew up in the South, so I grew up in like a heavy Christian environment. I went to a Christian school too. I'm from Georgia.
Damn.
And I got a good education at the school, but it was like
nice.
It was kind of like I had a bitterness towards Christianity in particular because there were a lot of people that claimed Jesus with their mouth, but their actions were doing the other thing.
Exactly.
Do you believe in any higher power?
I do believe that there's definitely a higher power.
Yeah.
People say that a lot. You know, there's a lot of Christians that do a lot of evil. Well, again, there's a lot of everybody. We got to stop looking at everybody as these classes of race or religion or whatever it is. We're all just humans capable of doing good or bad. That means Christians too. So when people say that, you know, because that's why he brought it up, people think, you know, you see Christians and they're not living perfect lives, so why would I even want to embark on that journey? Well, it's because that, you know, they're Christians because they're not perfect. So that's the whole point. We wouldn't go to church if church was just telling us that we're right on everything all the time. We need church to tell us where we're wrong, to tell us how to live better lives.
It just sucks even more nowadays.
Yeah.
How like cruel the world is right now.
For sure.
The blessing in that is how much love there is actually out in the
Yeah.
That's the key point.
Yeah.
And that's like literally what this is right here and stuff. Like people are just enjoying themselves and all that stuff like
Just
this.
enjoying
Something we can relate
themselves.
because I had a little bit of like religious trauma.
It's good,
religious trauma. And when I was in the 8th grade, I got really bad depression and anxiety for years. It's crippling for years.
It has to like even be close to that kind of trauma and stuff, especially depression. My nieces and nephew actually had depression. I'm like, oh my god, they're only 10 years old. What is?
Yeah, it's hard. But when I was 17, I was drowning in my depression and anxiety so bad. I was planning to take my life. And this is the cool thing, and this is what I wanted to share with you. The night I was gonna take my life, I was gonna have my last meal at a Waffle House because I'm from the South. And I had a supernatural encounter with Jesus. And I've never done drugs or alcohol before. No one preached to me. And that was the first time where I felt like that God himself actually cared about me. Because I always thought, too, there had to be a higher power. There's something out there. But
he does, and I hate to cut you off. He does. It's just the way that man has twisted his words and all that stuff, especially nowadays. With just even what's happening nowadays, it sucks. Yeah, I feel embarrassed to even like notice myself and stuff kind of stuff. Yeah, like, but in truth, that is a blessing and all that stuff. And there's more about like, you gotta keep going. Yeah, you can't give up. I was there too, and I was there too, especially during like COVID. Yeah, and like compared to blood family and stuff, my stepmom was there at my absolute lowest and stuff, and just thought of me, and like everything's fine, even when she was going through stuff. Yeah, and that brought me to tears. Yeah, and it just showed me the light and stuff like that. Yeah, I gotta keep going. Yeah, I gotta spread that joy and all that stuff to people out there and stuff. Yeah, no matter.
That's great. I know you and I both got our fair share of religious trauma. Would it be okay if I just?
That's pretty cool. So anyway, that's the end of the video there. I'm just gonna stop it right there. It's pretty interesting to view those kind of interviews and to see these perspectives, because sometimes we can be so consumed with our own realities that it's hard to kind of discern things. You know, we're trying to find right and wrong in our lives, so it's important to look at other people's lives to see where they're at, because we're all human. We all experience the same kind of basic reality, but we all experience it in our own individual ways, and God knows that. God loves each and every one of us, man. He loves you just as much as he loves me, and as much as he loves the next person. And so we have to be the ones to encounter God ourselves. We have to seek him out. And so what I would recommend everybody doing, if you're watching this and if you're struggling with maybe what your idea of God is, bring yourself down to a silence in your mind if you can. That's really the key. You have to open yourself up to be able to see God. Try to find the good and bad in your life, and try to find where God is tugging you towards. At night, just try to pray a quick prayer of, God, I'm not sure what you want me to do. I'm not sure where my journey is supposed to go, but I pray that you show me where I need to be. And that's all it has to really start with. That's all it has to be. I just want to encourage people with that. And that was the whole video. I wasn't going to go too deep into it. Just wanted to react to certain parts of it and just to give my thoughts on part of just the morality here, and to tie it into the Catholic Church. This Bryce Crawford guy, he's such a good guy going out and doing these things, but I also wanted to share it from the Catholic lens. I want to finish with these words. Guilt can feel heavy. So people, this is probably the theme of the show. People might feel this. But properly understood, it's not about shame. It's about the voice of God. The voice of God in your heart calling you to live as you were made, as a child in His truth and freedom in His love. So that's the goal here. It's not to avoid reality. It's to enter more into it. And that's where I'm going to wrap this up. My name is Andrew. This is the Horizon Podcast. We're going to continue this show. We're going to continue going. Some days it's going to be like this, a little less energy, a little less put together, but I'm going to keep trying, keep putting myself together, keep putting myself out there. Gonna keep working on this. I hope you guys enjoy this, and drop a like and a follow. Yeah, I really love the support, and I hope to see you all next time.